There's a 4-bedroom house in your city right now collecting $11,000 a month in rent. The house next door has the same square footage on the same street, but it's only collecting 2,800. One owner figured out co-living, the other one didn't. And here's the thing that nobody tells you. Most of the co-living being taught on social media right now will wreck you. There are dozens of co-living models, only two of them actually cash flow predictably. And tonight, I'm telling you which two, and the one most people are buying that's quietly bleeding them out. So stay until the end and click that subscribe button if you want the real tea every week. Drop a fire emoji in the chat if you've been here before. Drop new if it's your first night with us. I need to know who's in the building. I'm Jael Thomas, wealth strategist, and every single Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, I come on here and break down the stuff that school skipped. And listen, if you want to be around like-minded people building wealth in real estate, the link to my free Wealth Builders community on Facebook is in the description. It's free. There's no catch. Go add yourself when we wrap. Heads up, be sure to fill out all of the questions when you register to join. If you skip questions, you will be denied. We keep the group tight on purpose. Now, before we go anywhere tonight, I got to tell you guys about a guy who DM'd me 3 weeks ago. He found me on TikTok. He sends me a message at 11 p.m. Literally, I did not see that thing until the next morning. He said, Jael, I think I made a huge mistake. Can we talk? This guy is on his phone all day, every day. Phone in hand at dinner. Phone in hand on the toilet. Phone in hand at his kid's basketball game. Always scrolling 12, 13 hours a day. There's no end in sight. The TikTok algorithm has got him on lock. I kid you not. He literally told me this from his own mouth. So guys, I'm not just speculating. This is real tea. Last summer, the algorithm starts feeding him real estate. Buy a house, rent it by the room, make $8,000 a month. 2 o'clock in the morning, blue light on his face. He's watching some 24-year-old in a rented Lambo explain how easy it is to do co-living. So he does it. He pulls $60,000 out of his retirement account, buys a 4-bedroom house in Atlanta. He does a little bit of paint, didn't need a lot of rehab, and he listed the rooms on Facebook Marketplace. Y'all want to know what happened within the first 90 days? 3 vacancies. One tenant who locked himself in his room and would not pay. A neighbor who has called enforcement on them twice. And he just found out that his city caps unrelated adults in one house at 3 people. So even if he fills every room illegally, the math ain't mathing. He's now $8,000 a month negative on a property that was supposed to print $8,000 a month in passive income. That's when he DM'd me. He didn't fail at co-living. He failed at the wrong type of co-living. He picked the trending one. The one TikTok is selling at 2 a.m. People who can't sleep, not the one that actually cash flows that we're going to talk about today. Tonight, you're getting the 2 types that actually make money and the one that took him all the way down. So here's the deal, guys. There are way more than 2 or 3 ways to do co-living. Probably more like 15 if you count every single different type or different variation of co-living. Most of them don't cash flow. Some lose money slowly. Some lose money fast. And some can get you sued. But 2 of them done right print money predictably. 12 months a year, recession resistant, low vacancy, high rent per room, backed by structural demand that isn't going away. Tonight, I'm walking you through my favorite 2 that we are working right now. The 2 that we run and operate as a business, the 2 we put our own capital into, the 2 we bring our investors to. I'm not going to name them yet because I need y'all to stay with me. I want you to first understand the trap that makes everything else make sense. Because if you don't get the trap of what people are really trying to sell you, the two that work won't land as heavy as I need them to. So I'm going to need you to stay locked in because the reveal is definitely worth the wait. Now let's talk about the trap, the one that is built to wreck you unless you are very, very experienced. Before I give you the two that work, you need to understand this one, the trending one, the TikTok one, the piecemeal by the room, sometimes called a pad split style or co-living arbitrage. Pad split is awesome. I'm not talking about pad split. I'm talking about if you're not using pad split. This is the one that my buddy bought. This is the pitch that you guys have heard. Buy a regular single family house. Slap locks on the bedrooms. Rent each room individually to random adults off Facebook Marketplace. 8 people, 1 kitchen, cash flow going down. Here's what the pitch does not tell you. Number 1, most cities have unrelated occupancy ordinances. 3 to 5 unrelated adults max in most jurisdictions. You're operating illegally before you even collect your first month's rent. Number 2, your tenant pool is the highest risk pool in residential real estate. People who couldn't qualify for their own apartment are now your tenants. 8 of them under one roof, strangers, people who don't know each other, different schedules, different lifestyles, different hygiene standards. The disputes alone will eat you alive. Whose food is whose? Who left the bathroom dirty? Whose boyfriend keeps staying over and ain't paying no rent? Who's stealing the toilet paper? You're not running an investment. You're running a dorm with no resident assistant. Number 3, and this is the part nobody underwrites for correctly. Vacancy math is brutal in this model. Pay attention real quick. This is where most people lose money before they realize it. When you rent piecemeal, every empty room is a hole in your cash flow that you did not predict. And here's the thing, empty rooms aren't equal. Some rooms are tiny, the smallest, cheapest room sitting empty because nobody wants it. It costs you $500 a month. You feel it, but you survive. Now, what about your master primary suite? The biggest, most expensive, highest rent room that has its personal bathroom. When that sits empty, you're losing $1,200 to $1,400 a month, sometimes more depending on what market you're in. That room is carrying your return. That room is what makes the deal work. And that room is the hardest to keep filled because the rent is highest. Most people who run piecemeal never underwrite for the right vacancy scenarios. They calculate average vacancy across all rooms, which sounds responsible until you realize the average vacancy assumption hides which rooms are actually empty. Average doesn't pay your mortgage. Specific empty rooms do or don't. Here's the question I want you to write down. How many rooms have to be filled to meet my bottom line and have reserves? If you don't know the answer to that question off the top of your head, for every property you own or are looking at, you don't actually own an investment. You own a guess. Number 4, turnover is brutal. Average tenant in piecemeal stays to 4 to 6 months. You're filling rooms constantly and vacancies eat your spread. Number 5, your insurance company finds out your policy can get canceled. If your lender finds out, they can call the loan due right away. Numbers look great on paper, but execution can kill this deal. This is the type wrecking the most investors right now as we speak. If anyone tells you to start here, run. And here's the bigger point. One of the most important things about investing, real investing, is that it's actually passive. That's the whole point. You put capital to work, the asset produces, and your time stays yours. That's wealth, that's freedom. Renting by the room or by the bed isn't investing if it's a second job. It's calls in the middle of the night, it's drama in your group chat, it's drug deals on your front porch, and roommate fights at 2 a.m. It's never putting your phone down because the next problem is one notification away. Investing is supposed to give you peace of mind. Piecemeal rent by the room steals it. That's not the trade that we're willing to make. Do me a favor and drop the word wrecked in the chat. What's up, Yessie? If you've been pitched this or know someone running a headache right now. And guys, there is no shame in the Wealth Builders community. We are here to support one another. I'd rather you take imperfect action and make mistakes than to take no action at all. Anybody who's really in the game and really investing in real estate, we make mistakes. So if you right now are wrecked, drop wrecked in the chat because we're here to help. We might be able to help you turn this property around so that you don't have to lose it. Never be ashamed of where you are. At least you in the game. Now, who wants to hear about the ones that actually work? I hope you guys are ready. Can I get some readies in the chat? I'm so excited that my buddy Yessie is here, one of my business partners, somebody that I know is absolutely going to kill it in the real estate space. All right. So type 1 is master leases. Now, the first type that actually works, because most of you have never heard the actual numbers on this asset class, you're probably looking at me funny right now. And it's the one I'm personally most invested in. You own the house. A credible nonprofit organization fills it. They pay you from a master lease. You collect rent without ever screening a single resident. The nonprofit or the organization is where it gets interesting because it depends on your market. Not every organization works for every market. What's up, Lawrence? What's up, Lamont? I got my guys in here deep, y'all. These are some heavy hitters here. So if you guys need help and you're wrecked on a property, don't be scared to share it. Okay, so there are a bunch of different types of nonprofits and organizations that are ready to rent out your house and do all of the hard work for you. My favorite, sober living and recovering housing. Master lease to establish recovery operators in your market. 24-month minimum leases. 90% renewal rates. Some leases run 20 years plus. Did y'all hear what I just said? A 20-year tenant, take my house. You can have it. Veterans and transitional housing. How many people on here listening are very passionate about helping our vets? I know I am. Master lease to a VA-funded, sometimes government-backed program for our veteran and service providers. Federal money behind the rent, mission-aligned, underserved supply in almost every metropolitan area. What about our battered women and domestic violence? We know there's not enough housing for them. Master lease to nonprofits that provide safe housing for women and children leaving abuse, government backed again, permanent demand. Sometimes court mandated for some of these, y'all. Independent living for adults with disabilities. Master lease to state funded programs, predictable rent, very long leases. Workforce housing for hospitals, systems, and major employers. Sometimes Amazon, when they're setting up shop or they have a new or a data center like Microsoft, they have a bunch of employees that have to come down and they need housing that's cheaper than a hotel room for each individual person. Some markets, especially near hospitals or military bases, let you master lease to the institution itself. Different operators fit different cities. The point is this: when you find the right operator for your market, you're not collecting rent from individuals and hoping that they pay. You're collecting from an institution. That changes the game. Why this prints money? Number one, the credit quality tenant. A nonprofit or government-backed organization is paying. They're not ghosting you. They need the house. They also have long leases, 2-year minimums. Some leases run a decade or more. You don't refill rooms. The operator handles everything. Third, the rent is set by square footage in bedrooms or per bed. A 6-bedroom house can master lease anywhere above 5,500 to 11K. I've seen the numbers. Vacancy isn't your problem anymore. Rooms turning over inside the house, the operator's job. Difficult resident, call the operator. You collect the rent. That is it. let me give you an example of one of our properties. So in a major, let me give you this one. Hold on. So a 6-bedroom, this isn't ours. This is another example. I'll tell you when it's my property. The 6-bedroom in a major city acquired with creative finance. Say you put 40K down on a $620,000 property. Say the PITI is about 4,200, but the master lease is going to pay you $1,700 a month. The operator handles all the internal management. So your operating costs are low. Call it $300 a month for landlord side reserves. Always stack some money for your reserves in case one of your major systems goes out. So with this scenario, the owner is netting $2,700 a month after putting money to the side for a rainy day. Mental health recovery, women fleeing violence, veterans coming home. This is mission work. Don't miss it, y'all. It's work that pays. It's a win-win for everybody involved because this is so important to our society and our communities. Stacy and I structured our family office to include these asset classes for a reason. Wealth that does work. That's the whole frame for what we're building. Now let's talk about the risk because y'all know that I don't move forward without talking about what are the pitfalls. They are risks for everything that we do. And when people pitch you on something and they don't tell you about the risk, that is a red flag. You never move forward on anything without knowing what can go wrong. The first risk that we've seen is people trying to operate these programs on their own instead of using an entity or a nonprofit. You're a real estate investor, not a clinician, not a social worker, not a nonprofit director. Why not just stay in your lane? Be a property owner. Take the master lease. Let the operator do the work. Also, if the operator defaults and has financial trouble or exits unexpectedly, you have vacancy until the next operator is in place. So you also still have to vet your master lease operators. We look at how long they've operated, what their funding source is, what their renewal history looks like, and whether they have multiple master leases or just one. We also look at the operator's required capital improvements. They may be very needy and want you to fix everything in your house. Some people have very specific property condition standards. We always want the property to be safe, but sometimes the investment isn't worth what you'll get on the back end. So underwrite for them up front, not after closing. Also, local zoning pushback. Group homes have Federal Fair Housing Act protections in most situations, but you could still run into some permitting or some issues when it comes to your community or your neighbors. Insurance and lender friction. Not all insurance companies want to cover multiple unrelated people or a master lease for something like sober living under their umbrella. Then you have to account for lease termination clauses. They work both ways. Both parties have an out if they so desire. So lock all 6, and master leases are one of the most predictable cash flow plays in real estate. Skip them and you're just guessing again. Let me get a drop master lease in the chat if this is the type that's calling you. How many people are ready to do sober living? How many people want to help some veterans? How many people want to house women that are in need and scared for their lives? This is the work, mission work for sure. All right. This is my favorite. Pretty much all of our properties started here. Student housing. And before y'all click the X button and say goodbye to me because y'all think students, college students are too wild, let me tell you why, okay? I'm not talking about a house near a college. That's not a strategy. That's just hope. Real student housing investing, the kind that prints money, has very specific criteria. So you need to write this down if you're listening in and you hope to do this on your own at some point. Okay, so there are 2 models: groups who already know each other and randoms who get matched up. The reason that both work is that students are already used to sharing rooms and living under house rules. How many adults do y'all know that know how to follow house rules? I'll take the students. They came from dorms. They're not strangers being forced into adult shared housing for the first time. They get it. That's what makes student housing fundamentally different from piecemeal rent by the room. Now, groups who know each other, that's my favorite. So much easier. Friends from freshman year, a whole sports team. We have the wrestling team in one, a sorority pledge class, the same major cohort. They sign a group lease together. Conflict drops to almost zero because they were friends before they were tenants. But matched up randoms also work in this asset class because of the cultural baseline. Just price the management for the property accordingly and you'll be fine. Now, you need universities with documented housing shortages, not random colleges. Schools where campus housing covers 80% of need, but enrollment is 20,000 plus. The math forces 4,000 kids off campus every year. Research the school, pull the housing reports. The data is public. High income parents. Why does this matter? Because every lease is parent co-signed. You're not collecting rent from a 19-year-old. You're collecting rent from a 47-year-old parent with a job, a good credit score, and a kid they will not let get evicted. Pick schools where the median family income is above 150,000. The lease quality follows the parent's bank account. Also, they can pay you more. High population in fast growing markets, not college towns that are shrinking. Some schools are not growing. You want flagship schools whose enrollment is always going up. Markets that are growing 2% or more annually. Population, employer based transit. The asset appreciates in the rent compounds because of the school that you have the property near. And again, y'all, these are 12-month leases. That is standard. Every kid leaves for the summer, but they pay us through the summer. Vacancy is engineered out of the model. You only have your turnover. And if you do that well and you have relationships with the schools, you may not have any turnover. Rent per room math is unreal. A 4-bedroom, 4-bath near a Power 5 school can rent each room for $700 to $900 a month. Same property as a single family. But the single family would bring in about 2,200 to 26. The per room model, the spread is so much better. Now let me give you my real numbers of one of our co-living properties. It's a 5-bedroom house. It has 3.5 baths, fully renovated student housing. We have the wrestling team in this one. It's a huge driveway, so that's important, guys, because most likely if you have students, all of them have cars. So make sure that you have parking and they are not parking on the street because that can really hurt your numbers, or it can really hurt you when you're trying to get a group in and they don't see the parking situation looking good. So right now we're charging $6,000 a month. The PITI plus property management comes out to $3,800 a month, and we put $200 towards reserves every single month. So we gross about $2,000 per month on that asset. $6,000 off of one property. That's 24,000 in cash flow on one property, and the asset appreciates while it pays. Also, we have a phenomenal property manager. So literally, we only make calls on big decisions. All of the communication goes through her. All of the tenant's needs, everything is handled by our amazing property manager. Compared to a single family rental on the same property, maybe 24 to 2,600 a month, we're producing more than double that. And the revenue that, that property would be getting is literally our takeaway. Same house, different model. I also own commercial student housing, 87 units, 108 beds, less than a mile from UGA. That model is technically rent by the bed, but it's a commercial grade asset with on-site management, professional security, leasing office, maintenance team. Rent by the bed can work at a commercial scale because the infrastructure is built for it. What does not work is trying to replicate that model in a single family residential home with no infrastructure. So don't confuse it, y'all. Now, what can go wrong inside of student housing? 7 major pitfalls. Make sure you're taking notes if you plan on doing this model. If you don't have no reinforcement rules in your lease, you're going to be in trouble. The document has to spell out the rules like no parties, maximum numbers of guests over at a time, no overnight strangers. If you do allow it, is it 3 days? Is it what? Quiet hours, house cleaning standards. If the rules aren't in the lease, they're just suggestions. Suggestions don't get held up in court when something goes wrong. Exterior cameras. We have cameras in the front door and the back door. You don't watch them all day. They're a deterrent and they're evidence when something happens. Cameras stop the parties before they even start. Your other mistake is not making sure that the parents are co-signers. That is one of your biggest assets. Parent is liable. Parent has a credit score and a job. If you're collecting from the student alone, you're collecting from a 19-year-old with no leverage, meaning that you would have none. Not charging for a full 12-month lease. I see people think that student housing is 8 months. Most of these people in scarcity markets with no housing, they will pay you through the summer just to keep their same house so they don't have to compete again when the fall comes. So make sure that you make it a 12-month lease. I had to pay a 12-month lease as a student. They don't care that I'm a student. They still want their full year. So you make sure you get yours. Okay, buying near a college instead of in a student-specific submarket. Near campus is not enough. Specific blocks, specific bus routes, specific walking radiuses. 5 blocks too far and your property is just a regular rental in a neighborhood with the college nearby. Wrong block, wrong outcome. Trying to self-manage, I won't even get into that. I think I've covered that 8 times by now. If you self-manage from here, you on your own. Buying in towns where the school is shrinking. Always check enrollment trends 5 years back and 5 years projected before you buy. The wrong school in the right state will wreck your deal. If you skip any of these, student housing turns into a part-time job. Lock all 7 and it runs itself. If you already own a property near the right kind of school, and most of you who are watching this do own property, that property might be a candidate for conversion. We've helped clients turn a single family rental near a tier 1 university into a properly structured group lease student rental and double their cash flow. That's a consultant engagement that we run for the right people. What goes into the conversion is a special lease structure that holds groups jointly and severably liable, custom house rules, furnishing strategy, operator partnerships that we've built, really special niche around that, and getting the right students into your property, not random Craigslist tenants. Years of trial and error. Trust me, we have been through the ringer. If that fits your situation, the link is in the description, or just drop student in the chat and I would be happy to take a look at the property that you have. And if you're locking either of these in for the first time tonight, get inside the Free Wealth Builders Facebook group, because we can go deeper on that and people will be in there to help you out along your journey. Okay. We've covered both types that actually cash flow, master leases, student housing. If you have any questions right now that you want answered live, drop them in the YouTube chat. That's the only chat that I can see in real time. If you have anything, I'd be happy to answer your questions. Right now, I want y'all to also do something for me. Type master lease, type student, or type wrecked. What was your favorite part of tonight? Okay. Now, some of you are sitting on capital or sitting on a property that you already own, and you're going, okay, but which one is right for me? My city, my numbers. That's the right question. And it's the question I built a product around because so many of you have been asking for it. It's the 90-day cash flow plan. You book your spot at the link, and once you're booked, you'll receive the application to complete. It's a short questionnaire about your numbers, your market, your timeline. before our call. And then on our 60-minute deep dive, we're going to build out a 90-day execution map for whichever type fits. If you already own property and want to know if it's a candidate for conversion, student housing, or master lease, that's exactly what we look at. The link is in the description. And let me be honest with y'all, it's not for everybody. If you don't have at least 50K to deploy, or you don't know someone who has 50K that should be investing instead of letting it sit in a savings account, tied up as equity in their house, or slowly dying in a 401K, save your money for now and come back when you do. But if you do have it, you do, or you do know someone who does, fill out the application, click the link, and schedule your call. That capital is supposed to be working for you, not the bank, not the market, for you. So if you're ready, the link is in there and you can make your move. One more thing for my heavy hitters watching tonight. If you've already passed the cash flow plan stage, if you already in scaling mode, building a portfolio, deploying real capital, Elite Path to Freedom applications are open right now. 12 students, 12 months with me in your corner. It's not for everyone. The application link is in the description. Don't apply unless it's a real fit, guys. Just keep coming back to Wealth Builder Wednesdays. Be excited about the stage that you are in. When we rush things is when we make mistakes. It's a journey, it's a process, and we'll be here every step of the way. So it's no need to rush anything. Now, if I don't have any questions today in the chat, I have a few questions that I will cover with you all that I know I'll probably get privately, but I think it's better to share these answers publicly so that everybody can benefit. How do I underwrite for vacancy correctly? Don't average vacancy in co-living. That's for multifamily. Calculate worst case master suite empty plus one other room empty for 60 days. Do you have enough reserves for that? That's your real reserves number. Our first co-living property, we had 6 months of a mortgage in reserves. That's how cautious we were because we didn't want to make a mistake and we wanted to protect our investors that were in the deal. If your deal still cash flows in that scenario, the deal is real. If it doesn't, it's a hope, not an investment. Can you do both types at once? You most certainly can. Most people shouldn't, though, because I'm real. Pick one for the first 3 properties. Master that model. Then add the second. Capital is patient. Skill is what kills people who try to spread too early. What if there's no university or master lease operator in my market? Then your local market doesn't fit either play yet. Don't force it. Either travel, invest where the demand is, or wait until your market shifts. Forcing an asset class isn't into a market doesn't support. It's how people lose a lot of money. Are master leases actually safe? What if the operator pulls out? Master leases include termination clauses with notice periods, usually 60 to 90 days. The properties are usually still able to be booked by another operator. I always have backup people in my pocket to make sure that we have multiple exit strategies and we always have a way to pivot if need be. So keep your backup strategy handy. Keep building relationships with other operators. The person that you have doesn't have to be the end all be all. Or you could go find another property just to accommodate a new operator. We do that as well. How much capital do I actually need to start investing in each type? For master leases, I recommend that you have at least 25 to 80K to enter. Lower end is creative finance with the motivated seller, maybe they're in pre-foreclosure and we can help them out. The higher end is maybe we have to do a conventional loan and, maybe bring a bunch of cash to the table and do the BRRRR method. It depends. The operator demand makes seller financing common. So residential student housing, you're going to be looking at anywhere from 80K to 150 because it's a lot more involved. The property needs to be in good condition and sometimes you have to furnish it. Commercial assets, 100,000 is the minimum, but it's often much higher. But again, you can come in as a passive investor and already scale and get those great commercial real estate tax benefits. All 3 require 3 to 6 months of separate reserves on top. Do not deploy your last dollars into anything, guys. Keep some savings on the side. I beg you not to put your life savings into one deal. It just doesn't go well, and you're putting your family at risk. You're putting everything you work for at risk. It's not worth it. Wait until you're ready, or wait until the right deal presents itself so you still have money left over to protect yourself, because again, this is real estate and anything can happen in real estate, and anybody that tells you it can't and they just take your money, that's not somebody that you should trust. Last 60 seconds. I need you to listen. Co-living is real. The cash flow is real, but the type you pick is everything. Piecemeal room by room is a trap that you don't want to be caught in. Student housing prints predictably. Master leases print and do the work that matters. The map is now yours. What you do with it is the only thing that matters. If you got value from tonight, share this with one person who needs to hear this. Subscribe so you don't miss next Wednesday. We're going deep on RV parks next week. The quietest cash flow asset in America, and you don't want to miss it. Keep building, wealth builders. I'll see you next Wednesday.